I'm bad at breaking up. Other people always made it look easy. If I didn't have to be in love, in a minute I would believe me. Cause I hate how much it hurts doing the right thing. I hate how much it hurts finding the ending. Cause I tried so hard to let you go, and I'm sorry I left you hanging. But without you I feel so alone. All the same, I can't keep waiting. So I don't wanna close the door, but I think I shouldn't see you anymore. I don't wanna close the door on you. Cause before, when I left it ajar, you and I took things way too far. Now I don't know what to do anymore but close the door. How do people do this? Forgetting they know somebody well, ignoring what they might miss. Are they better off? I can't tell. Cause I hate how much it hurts doing the right thing. I hate how much it hurts finding the ending. Cause I tried so hard to let you go, and I'm sorry I left you hanging. But without you I feel so alone. All the same, I can't keep waiting. So I don't wanna close the door, but I think I shouldn't see you anymore. I don't wanna close the door on you. Cause before, when I left it ajar, you and I took things way too far. So now I don't know what to do anymore but close the door. Silk satin sky with a cloud of cotton candy blue.
Good morning and welcome to our 2020 summer ride for Texas 4000 presented by Abbott. We are so grateful for everyone who's joined us this morning, and we are excited to get started with our ride dedications portion. So every time before our riders go out on a ride, they give ride dedications to share with who they're riding for, why they ride, and those people that inspire them along the way. So before I bring in some of our riders, I am going to show a short video about ride dedications and sharing a little bit more about this ritual that our riders do.
current circumstances surrounding COVID-19, it's no longer safe for us to do our typical bicycle ride from Austin, Texas to Anchorage, Alaska. So instead, we've decided to do things virtually this summer.
So we will be having our cycling events virtually. We will be engaging with our community virtually.
A virtual ride dedication works largely the same way as a normal ride dedication. Before every meeting or before every virtual ride, you would say, I ride for this person. And if you want to, you can go into a little bit more detail about how that person touched your life.
You can submit your ride dedications via 3 different platforms. You can submit a ride dedication via the Texas 4000 webpage. You can join our Facebook live stream, or you can join our Zoom calls.
The virtual ride will be going on from May 29th to June 26th, and ride dads will be held before host interactions in the afternoon and at 7:30 to 8 a.m. Central Time every morning.
Thank you so much for participating.
Join us at texas4000.org. Together we can make a difference.
All right, so this morning, if you have ride dedications that you'd like to share and that there's people in your life that you'd like our riders to ride for, go ahead and throw those in the comments and we will make sure that we ride for those people in your life. So now I'm going to bring in 2 of our 2020 riders, let them introduce themselves, and they will start kicking off their ride dedications and any that you throw in our comments.
Okay, so I'm Kunal. I'm a Sierra rider and I just graduated this past May with a degree in civil engineering. And today I'm riding for a couple of my friends who passed away from cancer growing up. One of my mom's close friends, Miss J.R. Miller Alper, who passed away from ovarian cancer like a month before the 2018 team took off. And for my mom's uncle who passed away from cancer a couple years ago.
Hey y'all, my name is James. I'm on the 2020 Rockies route. I am a biomedical engineering senior, graduating in the fall this semester. Today, I would like to ride for those for our potential grant recipient, Baptist Health. We had a call from them on Friday, and I just want to ride for the survivors and those who passed away at Baptist Health. So yeah, I ride for them.
Yes, if you have any other ride deads, feel free to post them in the Facebook live comments or on the Texas 4000 website or on the Zoom call. And we'll definitely be writing for all of them. Yeah, we'll definitely ride for Esther. Thank you so much, Andrea.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Paige, for sending in your ride dad, riding for my dad and his surgery to remove a skin cancer tumor this week. We all hope it goes well. Wishing the best. Yeah, so for those who don't know, ride dads are just a way for Texas 4000 to kind of start off everything in a sense. So it occurs in our Monday night meetings before our Saturday wide rides, etc. So ride educations and why rides are in general just a good way to kind of root us back into the mission of Texas 4000. Always remember those who we're riding for as a team and as individuals and more. So it's always a good reminder for us as to why we're doing this and joining the org in the first place.
Yeah, and as the ride dads keep coming in, I can share a little bit about why I ride and why I joined Texas 4000. So whenever I applied to the organization, I originally applied for 5 different people. A couple of my friends who I said I'd be riding for today, one of my mom's close friends, Miss JR, my mom's uncle, and my freshman year biology teacher. So these 5 people had like a really big impact on my life. And like as a kid growing up, it'd always be like really difficult to like walk into a class and like see an empty desk from someone who passed away, like knowing that that desk is always gonna like remain empty. And it'd be really hard on like the rest of us to know that like the desk would never be filled. So just seeing the impact that like someone's death could have not only on you but on like the community around you was a big reason why I joined. And then one of my mom's close friends, Miss J.R. Miller-Alfer, she was a teacher for over 50 years and had like a big impact on my life. Like she dedicated her entire career to education and to like teaching others. Because she was like one of the like big government teachers in the state of Texas. So like she kind of shaped a little bit about who I am, kind of made me involved in like community events that are going around. And she passed away from ovarian cancer like a month before the 2018 team actually took off. So they rode for her, and I will continue to ride for her. But she ended up being a big reason why we actually moved. Like, would go to her house and always be like, "We're gonna buy your Sugarland home," and then like a few months later, we actually ended up moving to Sugarland. So it definitely had like a big impact on my life. And then my freshman year biology teacher ended up passing away from cancer in 2015. And she definitely also had a big impact on my life. Like bio is not necessarily something I was good at. Like there's a reason I'm not like a pre-med major or anything, but she really helped me out and definitely cared a lot about her students. So it was a big impact on the rest of us, and definitely going to ride for her.
Thank you, Chris, for sending your ride dead. We're riding for Philip Carter, a cancer survivor. Thank you. Yeah, I'll also share, like Kunal, some of the reasons why I joined Texas 4000 and why I ride in general. So 2 of my aunts on my mother's side experienced breast cancer. They're both in remission, thankfully. And 2 of my uncles on my father's side recently got diagnosed with bladder cancer. So obviously there's some sort of family history on both of my parents' side. And what really got me interested in Texas 4000 and the cancer community actually was my involvement with Camp Kesem, which began since my freshman year. So it was a really formative part of my college career. In that Camp Kesem helps children whose parents are impacted by cancer. So sometimes it's kind of an overlooked population, to say the least, since when cancer hits family, it really affects everyone around the family, not just the patient themselves. So yeah, Camp Kesem provides a year-long support system for the kids whose parents have cancer, but also a 2-week free summer camp for them to kind of also connect through cancer, but also have a week of where they just can be free of the burdens and realities of life and just be kids. So I think Camp Kesem has really influenced my decision and just in general why I want to ride for Texas 4000. So yeah, I'm always having the campers' families and the campers' parents in mind when I ride. Thank you, Madison. She said riding for my mom and M today. Team. Okay. I thought she said T, then M, so I think team. Yeah, also riding for our team.
Yeah, thank you so much, Paige. We'll definitely be writing for one of your best friend's parents who were diagnosed with bladder cancer and breast cancer within the last 3 months. We'll be keeping them in our thoughts. So in terms of panhandling, I personally didn't go panhandling that much. Like I feel like I only went a few times, but one of my favorite experiences was definitely Coins for Cancer, where we worked with like the next team, the 2021 team, to go panhandle and like hold posters on like various like intersections of Austin to raise money. So we get a lot of ride dedications through panhandling, and just seeing like the impact that it can have definitely does make a difference. I think like the first time I ever did Coins for Cancer, we ended up getting at least like 30 different ride dedications just from like 2 hours like outside. So that's where you can see like how much of an impact the cancer has on like the society around us, and just seeing like the influence that Texas 4000 is able to have was definitely like a really like good experience.
Yeah, I would say my favorite panhandling experience would be a football game in the fall semester. I don't recall who the teams were, but I just remember it being very, very busy, very packed on campus, and we would be in like Kanal said, like literally in the middle of the intersection, just shouting and with our posters up, and yeah, just shouting our mission, what Texas 4000 is, and getting people to donate even just $1. But yeah, that day we surprisingly fundraised a lot of money. It was over $500 amongst the 4 of us. And like Kanal said, these like panhandle experiences really give you insight onto how many different lives are impacted by the disease cancer just within our own community. And it's a good way for people to not only show their support by donating $1, but also sharing their stories and sharing a ride dedication as to why they would have ride. So yeah, it's a really awesome way to connect with the community, and but also spread the mission of Texas 4000. So it's always an enjoyable experience panhandling, even though it can be exhausting at times, because one, you're fundraising for the mission, and 2, you're connecting with others around you who've been impacted by the same disease. So yeah. Thank you, Chris, for sending your ride dead. As James mentioned, we're riding for the good people at Baptist Health, Paducah. Yes, always riding for them. As Chris said, we always ride for our grant recipients and our hosts, both of which we were able to meet through our virtual Zoom calls these past few weeks. It's been an incredible experience connecting with different people all over the country through this whole virtual thing, and talking to the people who we're granting out money to, and talking to the families and people who would have hosted us on the actual summer ride. and their stories and their involvement in Texas 4000. So yeah, always writing for them, always writing for our hosts and our grant recipients.
Yeah, thank you so much for your ride dedication, Fareed. Please ride for a family member, Charles. He is 82. He has cancer that has spread in bones, liver, lungs. Even with chemo treatments, he has spent the last few days in the hospital in Houston, now at home. We'll definitely ride for Charles and keep him in our thoughts during this ride.
Yeah, thank you. Andrea said, also writing for the sweet kiddos I mentor at Mount Nebo for equality and fighting the cycle of poverty. Yes, thank you, thank you. Writing for the kids at Mount Nebo. If you have any more ride deads, keep sending them in. We have about 8-ish minutes till we start writing. So please comment them. And thank you for those who have already sent your ride deads.
Yeah, thank you so much for the Ride Dead page. Writing for our teammate Colin and his family always. Yeah, we'll definitely be writing for Colin for a long time.
Yeah, talking about ride deads, when Colin's mother and his father visited one of our Monday night meetings this fall semester or spring semester, I think that was one of the most memorable ride dedication / meetings I've had. Yeah,
definitely.
Really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the ride dead, Emily. Please ride for Alex Castillo. We'll definitely ride for Alex.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Lindsay, for the ride dead. We'll definitely be riding for Lizzie and be the match. And if you have not joined the registry yet, there's a way to join it. It's free. Everything will be like, if you need a swab, they'll like ship everything to your house. It can really make a difference. So joining the registry at Be the Match can be really helpful and important.
Thanks to everybody who is sending in their ride dedications. We are going to let our riders go and get ready to get on their bikes so they can join us again shortly for the cycling portion, as we will also be checking in with some of our other 2020 riders who will be cycling today. So if you have any other ride dedications that you'd like to share, please throw them in the comments on Facebook and YouTube, and we will make sure to get those ride dedications going once we start cycling. For today, we are very excited to have Mike Barnes join us as our host for this broadcast. Mike is a sportscaster and partner in Barnes Media, so we are very lucky and excited to have him leading us today, and we will get started with that shortly. Thank you, Kunal and James, for leading ride dedications this morning and sharing your stories. We loved having y'all and look forward to hearing more from y'all as we start cycling.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Mike Barnes here in Austin, Texas. Getting ready for a big day today. It's going to be fun. I want to thank you for joining the daily ride dedication here as part of the Texas 4000 for Cancer's 2020 Summer Ride presented by Abbott. If you are in Texas, you know it's been a rainy night and a storm rolled through here in Austin, Texas, a couple hours ago. It lasted for a little while, and I know it's headed from north to south. It's going across the entire state. So enjoy the rain while we get it during this June Saturday, and get ready for a little fun. The Texas 4000. At Texas 4000 for every ride, to take a moment to remind ourselves why our mission to fight cancer is so important by making ride dedications for those we ride in honor of or in memory of. And we invite others to share a ride dedication for those they love who have had their lives touched by cancer, so that we may ride for them also. Ride dedications serve to fuel us each day in our journey and let us know that we are not alone, that so many people's lives and the lives of their loved ones have been greatly affected.
James is here, and so is Kanai. How are y'all doing, guys?
Good. How are you?
Good. I want to remind everybody you can make a ride dedication on the Facebook Live broadcast, and for those on Zoom, you can write your name in the chat. You'll be called upon to make your ride dedication, or feel free to write your ride dedication, and one of our riders will read it aloud. Y'all getting warmed up now?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How about Andrea riding for Victoria, who's currently battling cancer? Way to go, Andrea. So tell me how far y'all are going to ride today.
Well, it's supposed to be just an hour-long ride, so
How long is that for you? On an average day?
average day, I think we shoot to try for over 10 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the goal, I think.
Yeah.
So for like usually century rides, which are 100 miles, the goal is to do it everything within under 10 hours.
10
so
hours?
yeah, so that's kind of like the time scale we're going by.
Okay. How much do you have to pace yourself?
Yeah, we basically pace ourselves the entire time.
Yeah.
Try to be above a certain speed limit so we don't fall back or take it too slow. But usually the team doesn't have too much trouble making all those times. But we usually just constantly pace ourselves within our pace lines. So yeah.
Do you ever visualize a time where maybe you feel like you're going uphill in the Rockies, or you're trying to catch up with somebody and you turn up just a couple of miles per hour, try to take it a little faster for a minute or two?
Yeah. I guess I like to envision myself, like you said, if I was on the summer ride and just kind of think that I went on this steep hill and just crank it up.
Yeah.
And just cycle a bit harder inside. Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of helps, doesn't it? Kind of help to visualize something like that while you're going.
Yeah, it's definitely like a motivator, or like a little push that you need.
Yeah. And as you're going along here in the Texas 4000, do you visualize where you are on the route? Because you could be anywhere from Texas to Alaska, and I think right around now, going through the Rockies or something. How does that affect things at all?
Yeah. So each day we would be in a different state. So like right now we're kind of nearing the end of June. So I think we just finished Colorado and making our ways up there, at least for Rockies.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool to visualize where you would be in the nation if you're on the actual summer ride.
Yeah.
What about you, Kunal?
Yeah, I think at this time Sierra's supposed to be in California, like near that area. So I definitely prefer to be there instead of Houston. But
Kunal, how long have you been riding? How long have you been a cyclist?
The first time I became like a big cyclist was whenever I joined Texas 4000. Before that, like I've done some rides with like my uncle and stuff that were like 40, 50 miles, but like we didn't use clips or anything. So it was just take a mountain bike and go kind of.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a little bit different than what we're doing now.
Oh yeah. How about you, James?
Yeah, I think similar with Kunal, I just got the cyclist title. Not even when I joined Texas 4000, but before that, I was just I have another bike that I'd use to commute to classes from my apartment for college. So I think that was really the extent of my cycling experience. So very, very, very minimal. But yeah, hopefully after the ride, some of us who really enjoy riding can continue just cycling. Yeah, after the ride.
Yeah. How has cycling changed for you since you first started? I'll tell you a funny story about me. Is that I was on I forgot what it was called. It was a 20-mile marathon, so to speak, when I was in high school, just to raise money with a group I was with. And we were riding along, just riding around our town, and we ride along, and it's like we get done with our laps, like, well, that was good, 20 miles, that was good. And the people who were in charge said, oh, that was just 10. You got one more to go. Like, what? Are you kidding me? Is there a point in your cycling tenure in your career where you finally understand, or it finally hits you how far a mile is and how far you've gone, where you really grasp it a little bit better?
Yeah, definitely. So for me, when it comes to biking, I feel like the beginning part is always a little rough to get used to it. But once you get into like your cadence, it's like good for a while until you look at how many miles you've ridden, and then like your exhaustion kicks in again.
Yeah.
So it just depends on like how much you can actually distract yourself. And I think like remembering why you're riding stuff is definitely a good way to push through. It's like sometimes you feel like you've been biking for a while, and then you look at your biking to do, just like, oh God, like I've only gone like 20 miles, I still have like another 60 left. Like I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but like in the end, you have to like find a way to power through, and just like thinking about why you're riding and stuff definitely helps you like push further.
Yeah. Do you find it easier because of that, easier to ride with people or ride by yourself?
It's definitely easier to ride with people. Like because of coronavirus, we just like bike alone, like outside to do some training, and it's definitely a lot harder and a lot more boring to like bike outside. Like whenever you're with a group of people, you always have like someone to talk to and stuff like that. If you're alone, you're just like alone by yourself for like 5-6 hours. So it's definitely a little better to bike in a group.
Yeah.
And, yeah. It also helps in terms of like wind and stuff. Like if you have like a tight pace line and stuff like that, it'll make like your wind resistance a little bit better than taking all the wind yourself. So
yeah, I always say like cycling is more of a once you reach a certain mileage, cycling becomes more of a mental thing than a physical thing. So in those like longer rides, so like 60, 50 plus miles, it really helps to have like at least one companion or more to just kind of talk, kind of get your mind off like a hurting quads or hurting calves and whatnot. So it's always nice to have a little conversation. And sometimes we talk about just like superficial, trivial things, but other times you can talk about like why we rode, like our experiences with cancer. So the conversation really varies while you're riding. So I think riding with a group or a companion is definitely preferred for sure.
Yeah. Do either of y'all run at all, or have you run in the past?
Both of us have run a little bit in the past. Before I joined T4K, I definitely ran a lot more than I biked. I think me and James have both run like the half marathon.
Oh, have you? Okay.
And then yeah, so we definitely have.
If you've gone 13 miles, you run. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, tell me the difference for you, both mentally, physically, and even I guess sociology wise, as far as being around people, but the difference for you between running and cycling.
For me, running is definitely a lot harder.
Yeah.
I definitely prefer to bike over run. Like running is a lot easier on your legs, or biking is a lot easier on your legs than running.
Okay.
So just in terms of that, it's like a little bit different. Whenever I ran like the half marathon, like I would just like hit a wall eventually, and because I feel like in general we didn't really train too well for it. So like for us, running was definitely a lot harder. And just in terms of, like the exertion your body has to go through, like running is definitely a lot more exertion and like a lot more impact on like your joints and stuff. So
yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Kunal and I, in terms of like running experience, I remember I ran the half Austin marathon, and then Kunal ran the full marathon this past Austin marathon we had. But yeah, like you said, I think just like literally speaking, there are different muscles in your legs that you didn't know you had when you run. It's running is really good for cross training for biking. That's a fact for sure. But yeah, running hits your muscles a little bit differently, so you you feel pain where you never felt pain before after a nice run, versus cycling. And yeah, like when you're having people by you, especially in like a race, like a half marathon, a 5K, or a full marathon, definitely helps. Just like biking, it's like a unspoken motivator just to have people running by you, or just running or biking by you. So I think it's always nice to have someone next to you.
Yeah.
When you're doing those like long, intensive, cardio intensive exercises, for sure.
Y'all talk about hitting the wall running. Do you ever hit a wall cycling?
Yeah, I feel like we've all hit the wall a few times. But
yeah,
CLIF just gave us these like coffee bars, so if you're ever struggling, if you just eat one of those, you'll feel like superhuman for a bit because all the caffeine in it. So
superhuman. Wow. All right.
Yeah, we call it bonking, BONK, where you just hit a wall and you just can't cycle anymore. And you know when you bonk because your body just feels the pure exhaustion that just consumes you. But yes, there are definitely times when you hit a wall.
All right, check out the dozen riders we have joining us up on the screen. The names are up for a while, but they just went away. I was going to call them out. Oh, there they are. Philip, Andrea, Brian, Lindsay. Who's that? Bowen, Paige, Colin, Clara, Emily, Simon, Anthony, and Rachel, all involved in the Texas 4000. Thank you all for joining us today and getting all set up and trying to get things going on this summer day. Everybody has different. There's a little wave there. Everybody has different setups and little silhouette down there in the corner, but that's all right. How do you, James and Canal? Is there anything special in the way y'all set up your cycling day when you're just riding inside?
Usually nothing too special, but riding indoors is very different from riding outdoors. Kind of obvious, but riding indoors, you're just staying inside in a sedentary place, just cycling away. So it really helps usually to have like a visual aid on what you're doing, or else you can get really, really boring really fast.
Yeah.
So usually we have like, some people like to throw on their favorite TV shows while they cycle just to pass time, or some people like to actually ride with pre-recorded like indoor training rides that's provided by different YouTube channels that you can just follow along like real time. So you can cycle along while watching. So those are helpful because it like kind of guides you through the workout. There's a lot of those, but there's those for cycling too. So those are very helpful.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you ever turned on the TV and passed the time by watching a movie or something, because it kind of like riding with someone next to you where you're able to talk and
Right.
it goes better. You know, you get involved in a good TV show, a good movie or something. It's like, oh, wow, that was a quick 30 minutes or that was a quick hour. And look how far I've gone.
For sure. Yeah. Same idea.
Yeah. Do you ever worry about or think about, and this is just coming from someone who's born and raised in Texas for 50 plus years. Do you ever think about the temperature in your house, your apartment, or whatever it is? You know, because of cycling, do you need to keep it warm, keep it cool? Do you worry about that because of the exertion you're going through, riding dozens and hundreds of miles?
when you bike indoors, it probably like matters a little bit less. I don't think I personally like change the temperature in my house or anything whenever I bike, but whenever I bike indoors, I usually sweat like 5 or 6 times more than I would outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I feel like it would probably help to cool it down a bit, but at this point, you just get used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. When like and also when riding indoors, I feel like you sweat a lot more, just because you don't get that wind or anything when you're riding outside. So
right.
I usually like to just have the ceiling fan on and the AC pumped up a little bit, because you do sweat a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, while on the indoor training.
Is there? I guess for the most part, indoors it doesn't really matter what time of day it is, basically. But when you're riding outdoors, do you pick a time? Do you try to avoid the heat of the late afternoon and even evening?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like you said, Texas heat is no joke. So we usually try to ride early in the mornings when just about when the sun rises to avoid that like scorching hot sun that appears once it reaches the early evening. So yeah, we try to time it as best as I can, but when the rides get a little bit longer, it's kind of inevitable to just experience the heat.
Yeah.
So it can be tough at times for sure. Yeah.
I would think so. What's the farthest y'all have gone in one day?
Farthest we've gone was 80 miles, which was our last ride together as a team before the whole pandemic and self-isolating guidelines started to happen. So I think 80 miles was our last team ride, and it was to Buc-ee's. Yeah, to a Buc-ee's location.
Okay.
I forgot which location exactly, but yeah, it was a fun ride because everyone's like Buc-ee's, waiting for the Buc-ee's, and
get everyone excited, of course.
And they're eating a ton at the rest stop, and then coming back. But yeah, 80 miles was our longest ride.
Okay.
But there's several team members who've done century rides, which are 100 miles plus before on their own or during a break. But yeah, so yeah, we've been pretty close to reaching 100 miles ish, I guess, as a team.
When you're actually outside, not inside, but when you're outside, how do you pick your route? How do you pick where you're going to go? I mean, do you think about, forget about the distance, but if it was the same distance, do you think about the hills and the exertion that's going to take as opposed to, this is pretty flat and, let's avoid the hill country or anything like that?
We have a couple team members who focus on that. We have like a Saturday ride coordinator and like a fitness and safety chair. So like both of them kind of focus on like creating the routes. And some of the routes were like done in years past, so we just like sometimes modify the routes a bit to like adjust them to like the current time. But it's important to like prepare yourself. So sometimes if it's like a shorter ride, they'll try to make it a little more hilly to get us like used to like Rockies and like Sierra go through like a lot of elevations. So like just the rolling hills in Austin trying to help you get used to it. But yeah, I think like the Buc-ee's ride we did kind of had a little less elevation than the other rides just because it was so long. So like the further you go, like they adjust it like based on the team's like fitness level at that point. So.
Yeah, we use different fitness apps to kind of track our mileage and track the route. And like Kunal said, we have several people on the team who are just in charge of ensuring the safety of the team, because I think safety is a really big priority of the organization. So there aren't any sketchy roads with weird small shoulders, or there aren't any roads where the speed limits are over 80 miles per hour, which could put riders in danger, and etc. So we really take the time to focus on the safety of the route first. And like Kunal said, there's different elevation grades that you can see that the app also shows you. So you kind of know when to expect the really big hills and when to expect the downhills and such. And they do for sure play a big impact on how challenging the route is. I would say more so than distance. Elevation is probably the toughest part.
Yeah, I would think so. Let's go back. Speaking of safety, let's go back and let's talk more about the Texas 4000. How long have you been involved, both of you? How long have you been involved with this great organization?
Yeah, so it's when you join Texas 4000, you're committed to dedicating 18 months of your college career to join this org. So yeah, about 18 months, nearly 2 years, but not quite there yet.
Yeah,
but it's quite a bit of time. Within those 18 months, you commit a lot of hours.
Kunal, same for you?
Yeah. So everyone on the 2020 team, for the most part, all like joined the organization at the same time. So the like the first semester we're in the organization, we don't really bike much. A lot of it is like volunteering and fundraising, and then we officially get our bikes in like October. So we all got our bikes like October of the past year. But before that, it was mostly like volunteering and fundraising, and then we had a lot of like fitness workouts to like get into shape and stuff like that before we started biking.
Yeah. We saw the shot earlier of the dozen riders who are joining us today, cycling, making the Texas 4000 a part of their day, and here they come up again. And thanks so much, all of you, for being with us today. But how much of a bond is there between the 14 of you and anyone else who rides in this Texas 4000? Do you know each other in ways, and do you see each other, and is there such a bond?
Yeah, just because of how much time we spent with each other, we're not forced to love each other, but yeah, we're definitely very close. We have a close bond. Yeah, like I said, just to the nature of how many hours we spend together on our weekly Saturday rides. We can be up to like 7+ hours on a saddle, and our weekly Monday night meetings, which could run 2+, 3+ hours every Monday. Plus, in addition to all the separate committee meetings you have, separate leadership meetings you have if you're on leadership, the weekly rides. So yeah, it's a lot of hours you spend with someone else during the week for sure.
Yeah.
So you get to grow a close bond with the team. And I would say, yeah, everyone knows practically everyone in the team.
Yeah.
Just because of how close we are.
And I know everyone has a story, I assume, about why they're involved in the Texas 4000, and probably some of them are fairly emotional.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely stories where you wouldn't really expect it at all unless they've deliberately and directly told it to you. So there are stories where it's really emotional, and it's really hard for not only for them to share, but for us to hear that our fellow teammate had to experience such things like that. So it can get emotional and hard for sure.
Yeah. And does that make a ride like this, forget about the practice ride, but the real thing like now, the Texas 4000, does it make it even more worthwhile because of what you're riding for?
Yeah, definitely. I think every time we ride, we remember like why I ride and like who all we're riding for. So that definitely gives us like the fuel and like the motivation to like persevere and like finish what we started. So
yeah, it kind of roots us back into, first of all, why we joined the org and who we were riding for all the time. So it's a constant motivator within our heads to just keep pushing, especially during the harder times on the ride where you just approach a really steep hill. It's always nice to kind of think of the reasons and the people you ride, and it gives you a little boost up the hill for sure.
And is there constant, I hate to call it recruiting, but do you see people all the time who say, oh my gosh, I would love to join you. I would love to be a part of your group because I think it's so great what you do, so fun looking what you do, and so worthwhile what you do. Do you find it growing and growing, or do you keep it a certain size?
Yeah, I think just due to nature, we're growing every day as an org, and just the constant exposure we get to the public, etc. But we try to recruit every year. We recruit 2 years in advance instead of recruiting now for the next year's team. The 2021 team who will be riding next summer, we recruited 2 years ago. So we're always, and this is all done by our leadership within the student body of Texas 4000. So we're always constantly looking for different members of the UT community to cycle with us, etc. But yeah, just because how kind of crazy and outlandish the ride sounds to some people, it's gained a reputation around the UT community for sure, or for being that org that bikes from Austin all the way to Anchorage, Alaska. So yeah, there's definitely a reputation.
Yeah, just a little background for those of you who are watching. Founded in 2004, Texas 4000, the longest annual charity bike ride in the entire world, pedaling more than 4,000 miles. It's just amazing. Dedicated to fighting cancer by sharing hope, knowledge, and charity. And over the past 16 years, Texas 4000 has proudly raised more than $9.7 million for the fight against cancer. So thank everyone for joining us today, sharing your ride dedications for those you love, whose lives have been touched by cancer. We were going to continue this ride for you, for those you love, and for a cancer-free world. So please stay tuned for our live broadcast, Indoor Cycling, with the 2020 team starting shortly. Remember, you can make a ride dedication or donate to Texas 4000 to support the fight against cancer by visiting Texas 4000. That's texas4000.org anytime. Thank you again for our presenting sponsor, Abbott, and to all our sponsors for the 2020 Summer Ride.
Thanks, Mike, for sending in a ride dedication. He said, please ride for both my parents, both gone too soon from cancer. So proud of everyone, T4K. Thank you for your support, and yes, we'll be riding for both of your parents. Thank you again.
It's fun seeing people support you like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really cool to see people like you probably would have never met.
Yeah.
Unless it's through Texas 4000, just randomly commenting and supporting you.
Yeah.
It really helps. Thank you.
It has to help as you go through, whether it's the miles today going 80 to 100 miles today, or just, the continuous 4,000 mile journey all the way to Alaska. It has to give you a boost.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the special things about Texas 4000 is that it allows you to connect to people that you would have otherwise had no opportunity to connect with. So yeah, definitely helps.
It is 8:30 in the morning here in Austin, Texas. I want to remind everybody we're part of the Texas 4000. Welcome everyone back for Cancer's 2020 Summer Ride Cycling broadcast presented by Abbott. My name is Mike Barnes. I'm your host for this hour. And I'm so excited to be here along with some riders from the Rockies route, I believe. James and Canal are doing a great job right now. For those who don't know, Texas 4000 for Cancer, a non-profit organization that cultivates student leaders and engages communities in the fight against cancer. The organization's cornerstone event, an annual 4,000-mile bike ride from Austin, Texas to Anchorage, Alaska. The 78 members of the 2020 team have been preparing and training for their life-altering cross-country summer bike ride for 18 months. And due to COVID-19, they were forced to make the heartbreaking decision to cancel the 2020 ride to Alaska. But the pandemic may have brought our world to a standstill, but cancer rages on, so the ride must go on virtually. So for the month of June, this team is riding to Alaska virtually. They're in the Rockies right now, or just coming out of the Rockies. It's a downhill ride today, I think. And I'm so inspired by the individuals on this team who have shown such tremendous courage and creativity throughout this time. Here's the MC for this hour, and so excited to be here. So please post your comments to encourage these riders. There's lots of them watching, and we're going to enjoy this over the course of the day today. So we're going to answer some questions along the way. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them, and we're going to have a lot of fun. And James Canal, just keep going right along.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about the Texas 4000 Leadership Development Program and what you know about that.
Yeah, so Texas 4000's mission, as you just heard, is pretty much twofold. Cultivating student leaders and engaging the communities against cancer. I think they take both parts very seriously, in that I'm part of the leadership team. I served as the MPR chair, which is the media and public relations chair. Kind of oversees the public image of T4K, all the social media, etc. But it definitely, the org definitely helps with developing your leadership skills, because while there is a whole professional staff behind it, there's also an entire leadership board. Practically anyone in T4K can be on leadership and really put forth what they want to put in. So we have various committees, different chairs working on different aspects of the ride. it all comes together to form and prepare us for the final culmination, which is the summer ride.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there are a ton of hours that go in behind the scenes that the public might not really be aware about. But yeah, it really helps cultivate and develop your leadership skills and how to manage different committees, how to manage opposing viewpoints, how to manage different logistical things. So it's definitely, it's definitely one of the more helpful experiences in developing your leadership skills for sure.
The thing that's amazing to me is that what we mentioned earlier, you talked about 2 years ago, basically 18 months ago, is when you're chosen for this ride. So stuff that is 2 years in the making. It's a long process. Tell me what goes on over those 18 plus months, and besides just the planning, but as you're raising money, as you're, I guess, getting into shape, as you're preparing to go 4,000 miles. Tell me about the entire process and how grueling that is, just getting ready for this grueling ride.
Yeah, so the 18 months are essentially broken into like 3 different parts. There's like your onboarding semester, which is like your first semester in the organization. So in the onboarding semester, you focus a lot on like volunteering and fundraising, and then you like work on getting into shape. So like each member has to go to like a weekly fitness workout where they like work on getting into shape. Like sometimes it's like a run. Sometimes it's like we went to like Fight Club a few times, so it'd be like cardio, kickboxing, and stuff like that. Just some like things to help us get into shape before we bike. But like I feel the main focus is definitely volunteering and fundraising that first semester. Like each person has to volunteer like 25 hours that first semester,
Mm-hmm.
and in total for the 18 months you'd end up hitting 50 hours. So like half of that is your first semester, and then there's also a big push on fundraising. Like each rider has a hard cut at the beginning of the fall semester, so you have to work on like hitting the 2,000 mark of like your total $4,500 goal by like the beginning of fall of like that first year.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second semester starts your like that's whenever you get your bikes and stuff like that. So like until October, you have to keep doing the weekly workouts. So like every Saturday morning, we'd all have to like get to Clark Field at UT like early in the morning, and then we do like group circuits and stuff like that to like help us get into shape and like strengthen our core and stuff like that. And then we continued to like volunteer and fundraise as well. So we kept having like that batch of fundraising that we had to like match in order to reach our 4,500 by the end of the spring. And then we had to do like another 15 volunteer hours in the second semester. And then once we got our bikes in October, we slowly worked our way up to like 50 miles. And at the beginning of the like spring semester, which was the last semester, we had a half century test at the beginning of the semester. And we were supposed to have a century test in April, but like then coronavirus happened, so the max we ended up going up to was 80. And then you have to hit your $4,500 deadline and like finish your volunteer hours by that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's like, it's always a constant effort, I feel like, throughout Texas 4000 through the 18 months you're involved in. And I think, like Kunal said, during your onboarding semester, during the summer, and then during your actual riding year, there's varying degrees of how much work you put into certain things. So yeah, onboarding semester, like you said, a lot of volunteering and fundraising just to get like a little upfront push. And then during the summer, everyone's kind of doing their own things. Some are still involved with leadership at T4K. And then during the actual ride year, which would start around August, September of that particular year, we would get our bikes, we would start riding, we would really start fundraising a lot more to reach our 4,500 deadline. So things really start to ramp up during your ride year. And it's a constant roller coaster uphill until the actual summer ride. So yeah.
And look at that, you get a little bit more of a boost there from Fareed, I believe is his name. Go Texas 4000 riders. You love having support like that, don't you?
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Tell me the difference between the three routes. As a cycling novice, I know that there's probably a difference between different parts of the Rockies, but why do you have three different routes you could choose from or you can go on?
So I think the purpose of the three routes is to spread the mission to, I guess, many parts of like the U.S. and Canada as you can. So, like each route visits different communities, so they'll have like an impact on different places, and you could and as a result, you could spread the mission like as much as you could, because like the three routes let you go to so many like new cities. So the first route is Sierra, which is like the one I'm a part of. So that one originally goes through the it goes straight like west. So it goes from like Austin to like El Paso all the way to San Diego, and then from there it goes like straight north. So from San Diego would hit like San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, Vancouver, and like go kind of along the coast, like towards Alaska, and then like Rockies, which is the route James is a part of. It like goes, I guess, through the Rockies, so it's more of like it's like the most direct route for the most part, but there's like a lot of elevation in that one. But they go to like Colorado and like Montana and stuff like that, and then the last route is the Ozarks route, which is like probably the most community driven route. They like start off going the wrong way, so they go from like Austin to New Orleans, like all the way to like this year they're going all the way to Atlanta, and then from there they kind of like turn around and then go like through the Cancer Belt, which is like more of like the Midwest area. So they go from Atlanta to like Kentucky to Chicago, and then go like that like direction. So like the three routes definitely hit like a lot of different communities, and there's like a lot of different like hospitals and like hosts that we interact with because of kind of how spread out it's been able to become.
Yeah, looking at the map, the Ozarks route goes Houston, New Orleans, Memphis, St. Louis, Chicago, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Whitehorse, and Anchorage. If I was given that route, I'm like, why are you doing that to me? Because I have to go further. That's just not fair. You look at the Rockies route, it goes Austin, Dallas, Oklahoma City, Colorado Springs, Denver, Calgary, Vancouver, Prince George, Whitehorse, and Anchorage. And the Sierra route goes Austin, Lubbock, Santa Fe, Flagstaff, Lake Tahoe, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, Vancouver, Prince George, Whitehorse, and Anchorage as well. It's just, I don't think those are equal. So I think there's some unfair advantages there for especially that Rockies route that seems to take a direct path.
Yeah, there's definitely different. The mileage differs by the route and just a little bit, and there's unique hardships, I guess, associated with each of the routes.
Yeah.
And there's like unique characteristics for each of the route, and they have their own route culture. So it's a pretty cool like Texas 4000 tradition to have those three routes and try to hit, like Kunal said, as many communities as you can through the summer ride.
Yeah, the Sierra and Rockies routes started in 2004, and the Ozarks was added in 2013 to have a route through the highest prevalence of cancer in the U.S., which is great, again, because of the ride is all about hope and knowledge and charity. And it's just great what y'all are doing, bringing so much strength, power, courage, everything in this fight against cancer.
Yeah, thank you for sure. But yeah, I think it's really awesome to kind of hit different communities through different routes. Like Sierra, like you said, hits a lot of the major cities along the coast, and Rockies go through the Rocky Mountains, and they hit a lot of the rural communities, more the smaller communities. So it's a very different experience for them to go through cancer. And Ozarks, as we all said, hits the cancer belt, goes through a lot of different institutions and healthcare institutions. So it's a lot mission focused. You interact with a lot more grant recipients, etc. So it's a very different experience for each of the routes, but also all very fulfilling.
Let's talk about what you're riding right now. What are you on right now? Are you on your actual bike inside, or are you on a stationary bike?
We're
Yeah,
on our actual bikes, but we put in a trainer attached so the bike becomes like a stationary bike.
Yeah. Does
Yeah,
everyone? I'm sorry. Go ahead, James.
Sorry. Yeah, most of us have our bikes on a trainer. So this is the actual bike that we actually ride on the road, which is just attached. The back wheel is attached to a different trainer.
Yeah.
Some people ride on their like stationary bikes. It kind of varies amongst the individuals, but yeah.
I had a feeling it was preference, and what does it matter to you? Why is there a difference to you what you're riding?
I would say riding on the actual bike gives you more of a realistic experience onto what it would have been like on an actual road. So, and then just having the bike fit to your body perfectly and changing the gears and having a feel for it indoors simulates the best experience for your indoor riding experience versus just any random indoor biking, like, yeah, indoor bicycle. I think it's very different. Yeah, I think having a bike and a trainer gives you the most realistic experience of what an outdoor ride would have been like.
Do you change gears much at all today?
Not today.
Not as much. On the actual rides, you have to change a lot.
Yeah, I know you wouldn't on the actual ride. I just didn't know on a day like today, do you change gears just to coast a little bit, to make it tough for a few minutes? Kind of like what we talked about earlier about, riding a little faster at times and going at the same pace. Do you change things up at all?
Yeah, if you want to.
It depends on each day. Some people follow like cycling programs, so they usually have like high resistance at some points and kind of do like more interval type of training. But I think today we're just like kind of coasting for the most part. But it's like depends on what you decide to do that day for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're trying to talk at the same time while you're riding, it's kind of better to kind of chill a bit and take it easy. But when you're just trying to train, it really helps to shift the gears a bit, just to feel some different type of resistance and simulate what an uphill and a downhill would be like outside. So it does help changing gears.
Yeah, that's how I would think. Again, I appreciate both of you joining us today and talking while you're cycling. I know that's not easy. We have a shot earlier of the 12 cyclists who are also with us today via Zoom. And is it kind of inspiring? Here they come up. And thank all of you for joining us. Is it inspiring for you to know it's not just you alone? It's not just the two of you alone, that you have your team together, which is so nice.
Yeah, it really helps. We might not be in the same location, same city, or even the same state. We might be spread all across. But the fact that we all got up on a Saturday morning to pedal indoors together really says something about the team and what about the mission of the org.
Those names come up again. I'll read them off again to let everybody know who all is with us. Clara and Rachel and Anthony and Simon, Emily and Colin and Paige and Bowen, Lindsay, Brian, Andrea, and Philip. Thank you all for all that you do for the Texas 4000 in this fight against cancer. It's such a great team. It's so much fun watching what y'all are doing together. Let's go back, James and Connell, and talk about what got you involved in the Texas 4000 a few years ago. What did you even know about it before you got to Austin, and what heightened your awareness about? Oh, wow, that's interesting. It's something I would like to be involved with.
Yeah, I can go first. So as to how I learned about Texas 4000 and why I joined. I think the primary factor was another nonprofit called Camp Kesem, which is a nationwide organization where there are different chapters at different universities. So I was involved in Camp Kesem since I was a freshman in college. And since then, I was in it for 3 years as different unit leads on the executive board, etc. But basically, Camp Kesem provides support for children whose parents have been impacted by cancer. So I think that's sort of an overlooked population at times, for sure. There are different orgs which are for children who have cancer, different orgs that target different target demographics. But I think for kids whose parents have cancer, their lives are affected as much as the parents or those who have cancer. And it's really an overlooked community. I think because of my involvement with Camp Kesem and the cancer community in the Central Texas area, I was able to hear of Texas 4000 through different members who are both involved in Camp Kesem and in Texas 4000. So there's a lot of intersection between the two orgs. So yeah, I think that's why that's the first time, I guess, or yeah, the first instances where I heard about Texas 4000 was through the Camp Kesem org, which is just another fighting cancer org, but in a pretty different manner.
Yeah, so I first learned about Texas 4000 through a couple of friends I had on the 2018 team. So like because of like everything they experienced and like the journey they had, like that was like a big reason why I decided to apply too. But like also the mission speaks a lot and like impacts a lot of people. So I just like looked at my own life and like saw all the people I personally knew who were affected by cancer and like the impact it's had on like me and the community around me. So like knowing their mission and like how impactful their mission could be was like another big reason why I joined.
Look at Andrea saying, "Woo, go James and Canal. Y'all are rock stars."
Thank you, Andrea. Yeah, she's our fellow teammate on our Rockies route. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
How is she typing if she's on a bike right now? Amazing.
Who knows? I know.
Amazing what y'all are able to do. Modern technology is great. Yeah, I mentioned earlier that here in Austin, big storms came through a couple hours ago. How does weather affect you? I know it doesn't today, but you know, on a ride, if suddenly a storm came up out of nowhere, like it often does during the spring and summer months in Texas, you know, how does it affect you, and how dangerous is it? Because especially to me, you're on these skinny wheel bikes going fast, and it just seems a little. As a parent, I'm like, "Ooh, be careful out there, kids."
Yeah, weather definitely has an impact on the route, especially rain, because like you said, it can get slippery pretty fast, and you have to ride a little bit different just to have safety in mind and just in case something happens due to the rain. But when it really rains or it's really windy, etc., it really affects the ride in that the ride just gets a lot tougher. The coldness, in addition to the wind, doesn't make for a favorable combo for the riders when it's freezing cold and you're wet, your hands are freezing, your toes are freezing, but you just go in for the ride and just try to persist for the rest of the ride. But yes, it definitely makes some rides a lot tougher, for sure.
It's amazing to me as I look at this stat. The team rides for 70 days through rain, sleet, wind, snow, heat, any other weather imaginable. On average, they encounter 15 thunderstorms, 3 hailstorms, wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour, and temperatures ranging from below 0 to 115 degrees. That's everything imaginable.
Yeah.
You have to tackle.
Yeah,
for sure. I think like sometimes if the weather is like too dangerous to bike in, we'll get like sagged out. So we always have like a few people assigned to sag, which is supporting gear like every ride. So if it's too much, they'll like pick us up, and if it's like too dangerous, they'll pick us up, and then like we'll see what happens from there. But like the weather can be both good and bad. Like I personally really hate the cold, so like the winter was kind of rough for me. I'd probably freeze every single ride. But like cold and wind is definitely the worst, but sometimes it's like both good as well. Like yesterday I went on a ride with like Yash and Jason, who are part of the Ozarks route, and like towards the end of it, it was just a random downpour because of the Houston weather. But it was so hot outside that it actually helped a lot more than it hurt. because it kind of cooled us down. So there's definitely both positives and negatives to the weather.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I could see that. Okay, this is going to be a silly question. I jog almost every morning, run a couple of miles, and I can't eat before I run. It just wouldn't work well. And I look and see that y'all have 460 rest stops along the routes where riders replenish food and water and repair bikes, of course. But how much do you take in over the course of a day cycling? And do you worry about how much you eat, and should you eat? Do you eat too much? Do you not eat enough? Do you worry about the types of food that you put in? Because I see that there are 5,000 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that the team eat on a normal Texas 4,000.
Yeah, so starting from before the ride, you have to be pretty aware of what you put in the body, because it really does have an effect on how you perform on the bike and how you feel on the bike, especially on those longer rides. So we try to, everyone's encouraged to eat some type of breakfast. We never encourage riders to just ride 30 plus, 40 plus miles on an empty stomach, because that can lead to bonking and just being fatigued super, super fast. So yeah, just a light breakfast, nothing too acidic, nothing too harsh, nothing too heavy. But like you said, we have a lot of rest stops along our route and during the summer ride. So those rest stops are just for replenishing our energy, our sodium needs, because we sweat so much, and just sugars, your blood sugars get really low when you're riding for a long time. So we eat random fruits like sandwiches, goldfish, etc. On
Lots
the
of
ride.
energy bars.
Yeah, we have a lot of energy bars. We have sponsors like CLIF and Noon who provide different snacks that we can munch on during the ride and before the ride to give us a little boost. And yeah, so we have those rest stops, and after the ride is when you really eat a lot. You get
I would think so.
you burn a lot of calories, especially on those like 5+ hour rides. So yeah, you really devour anything you really see in your household. So that's post ride is when you really eat a lot.
Look at Jody Hopkins says, such an amazing team.
Thank you, Jody.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jody.
And again, it's not just James and Canal. We have a dozen others on Zoom that we're watching as well. Riding along, they've got their legs moving, going. Philip and Andrea, Brian, Lindsay, Emily, Colin, Paige, Bowen, Simon, Anthony, Rachel, and Clara. Thank you for all you do for the Texas 4000. Keep it going. Y'all are doing great. It's such a great cause, and it's been going on for 17 years. It's just amazing what y'all are able to do, and the money that you raise is just amazing. I mentioned earlier the number that's been raised over the course of the last 17 years. Millions of dollars, and just has to make all of you feel so good that it's not just that you're getting a good workout, you're also raising money for such a great cause.
Yes, for sure.
And you have to get those donations throughout the year, don't you?
Yeah. So we have like
Go
the
ahead.
personal donations that we get. So each rider has to raise at least $1 for every mile. So at least $4,500. But we also have like donations that people give to just the general team fund. There's like the Sexy 4000 like circle, I think, which is a bunch of people who donated like $4,000 like the general fund and stuff like that. A lot of like sponsorships, like Abbott is a presenting sponsor, so like that like helps a lot too. So like all those definitely add up a lot.
Yeah, to reach the $4,500 fundraising goal, it's a persistent process from the beginning. You join the organization. Like we said earlier, on that one onboarding semester, we would try to front load our fundraising. So we try to fundraise as much as we can. And that can be through personal asks, just personal asks within your social circle. So friends and families, we like to panhandle a lot. A lot of different riders like to create Texas 4000 merchandise that can be sold to members of the team and the supporters. So a lot of people think of different really creative ways to fundraise throughout the year. And a lot of us, most of us surpass the $4,500 goal and we set our own goals past the $4,500 mark and try to fundraise as much as we can before the summer ride. So it's really impressive and inspiring to see fellow teammates fundraise that much before the summer ride.
Well, I think you said one word that just kind of wraps everything up today: inspiring. Because it's not James and Canal just out for a fun bike ride, and let's show those other dozen cyclists who are on their team. It's not just these 14 that are just on a fun bike ride on a Saturday in June around Austin, Texas. They're doing a virtual ride from here all the way to Alaska, all the way to Anchorage, 4,000 miles to help raise money. And remember that you can make a ride dedication at any time. Texas4000.org. You see it at the bottom of the screen. Texas4000.org. You can donate to Texas 4000, or you can purchase Texas 4000 2020 team cycling jerseys, any other merchandise, all to help support this fight against cancer. That's what this is all about, the fight against cancer. You can go to texas4000.org at any time. Thank you again, all the cyclists. James and Canal, thank you for answering all these questions and having a fun conversation. Thank you again to our presenting sponsor, Abbott, and to all our sponsors of the 2020 Summer Ride. Thank you all. Have a great Saturday afternoon here in Austin, Texas. Enjoy your day. Keep on riding on your way to Anchorage, Alaska, James and Canal, and we appreciate all that you do. Thank you, and have a good day, everybody.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mike. And thank you, everyone who's watching.